Okay, I wanted to talk about the shadow self real quick. So we are all born a certain way, right? We're children. And when we all have personalities that start to develop as the years go on, and we go through our lives and we exhibit certain personality traits that are within us. They are good, bad, there's no label. It's just whatever. Like, we exhibit who we are. And as we exhibit these behaviors, we start to learn what behaviors are acceptable and accepted in society, and what behaviors we should hold on to, and what behaviors we should let go of or suppress. And so this happens when we do something, or we say something, or we make ourselves vulnerable in a certain way, and it's not well received by society. It's not well received by our parents. Maybe we do something or we act a certain way, and somebody makes fun of us or ridicules us, rejects us or judges us, or whatever. Some sort of like emotionally traumatic event happens with regards to exposing a certain part of ourselves, or like throughout our lives, our parents just are constantly telling us, oh, you're just too needy, you're too sensitive, you're too sensitive. And so we start to develop this idea as we go through life and as we grow that is not a good part of me. That is not something that I like about myself, because other people don't like it. Like, my parents keep telling me it's not good. This person obviously doesn't like it. And some of this happens subconsciously. Well, most of it happens subconsciously, where you're just like, you have this personality trait that is part of you, but because of the feedback that you've gotten from your outside world, you start to suppress it. So, and then this happens also later in life. Maybe you, like in high school, it doesn't have to be when you're like a young child. It could be when you're older too, and maybe you grow up in a certain type of environment or group that you really felt like you weren't being yourself in. And then later, as you grow older, you realize that that's not who you are. But forever you hate that sort of group or environment that you were associated with, like in high school, and you stop liking anything to do with that sort of group. This is something that happened to me. And then you sort of go opposite of that and go towards the other side of like a group. So like if you are in high school and you're exposed to a lot of like gangs and like drinking and drugs and just like more of like that hood, like ghetto kind of like lifestyle, and then you realize that like that's not who you are, and that's not like the kind of life you want to live. So you veer away from that, and you find yourself, and you find your values and like your standards and how you want to live life, and then you go and you find your way. Then that past experience, or like the people that you used to hang out with, and the types of the culture, I guess, that you grew up in that you didn't actually like, or you realize it wasn't really you, becomes part of your shadow. Okay, so that's the point I'm getting at, is like, we grow up, and when we realize that there's certain things about us, subconsciously or consciously, that we don't like about ourselves, or that other people don't like about us, it becomes part of our shadow. It doesn't go away. It's still inside of us, but we sort of put it away and suppress it, and it becomes part of our deeper, darker self, which we'll call our like dark side, or like our demons. And so like this dark side doesn't necessarily have to be a bad quality. It can be a good quality, like you're really sensitive and you're really emotional, but growing up you were always told that you're too sensitive and you're too emotional and you cry too easily. So you made a decision subconsciously that you're going to suppress that part of yourself because it's not well received, and you're going to be tough, and you're going to be strong, and you're going to just show that side to the world. That's the part you're going to embrace about yourself, right? Because that's the one that people really liked growing up, or that's the one that my parents received well, or encouraged. And so the point I'm getting at is like, every one of us has opposites. So we live in this world of duality. So there's no way that you can be totally one thing and not the other thing, because every good has a bad, every positive has a negative, everything has an opposite. So to say that you have so much masculine energy and you're just so strong and powerful and ambitious, and that you don't have any feminine energy in you, whether you're a girl or guy, it doesn't matter, and you don't have any feminine energy in you, such as being more sensitive and caring and nurturing and gentle, is to say that you're not human, because we all have both energies within us. It's just a matter of what we embrace more and what we show to the world more. What we are letting come to the surface more. And what we let come to the surface is what we have been taught growing up, is how we should be based on how it's been received, or the feedback, or like the experiences that we had growing up. So we believe that in order to be accepted into society or by other people, or to be loved or to be lovable, that we have to be a certain way. And so we only exhibit those qualities in ourselves that are going to be accepted. This is a thing in our head though, like it's a story in our head, it's not actually true. And now that we're adults, so my message is that now that we are grown and we're adults, to recognize these shadow aspects of ourselves, to recognize, so pay attention to what kind of traits you constantly exhibit that is really strong in one direction, and what's the opposite of that, and to ask yourself if you exhibit those traits, and if you don't, why? Why is it that you don't exhibit those traits? So, for example, I was always a very, I feel like I have a lot of both energies, masculine and feminine, but I feel like throughout my life, I've showed a lot of my masculine energy. I showed my strength, how strong I am. I'm very ambitious. I speak up for myself. I speak my truth. I could be a little cold. I could come off a little blunt and straightforward. Like, I feel like that's, maybe a little bit like assertive, maybe a little aggressive. Like, those are all very strong masculine energies, and that's fine and that's great. But I don't really show my vulnerable side a lot, or I used to not show my vulnerable side a lot, like my sensitivity. But I realized, especially over the last year, that I'm a very sensitive person, and I am very loving and caring and nurturing. I mean, I always knew that about myself, but and I show that side to people that I'm really close with. But as far as like to the world, I usually have this like a strong but like reserved attitude, like where I'm not going to open my heart, I'm not going to open myself up, I'm not going to make myself vulnerable, because then I'm going to get hurt, or whatever my reasoning is subconsciously. And so I realized this not too long ago, that I have this whole other side to me that is vulnerable and human and emotional and sad. There's sadness, there's pain, there's beauty, there's this gentle side, this gentle, loving side to me that I don't really show the world. I don't really show it in public. And I realized that was a part of my shadow, and that I have to bring that also to the light, because it's a part of who I am. And if I want to be a whole person, and the whole thing is, we need to all focus on being authentic, right? We need to focus on being our true authentic selves, and to become whole, to integrate all parts of ourselves and express it freely into this world, is to be our truest selves. So if we are only expressing part of our personality, because that's what we think is going to be accepted by other people or society, and we're neglecting, completely denying this whole other side to ourselves, then we are not whole, right? Every man out there who acts like a tough guy, who has no emotions, puts on this strong, stoic face, also has a very vulnerable, sweet, gentle, sensitive side to them. And a lot of them don't show it. And it's like everybody wants somebody who has both traits, right? Like, I would never want to be with someone who's only showing one side to themselves. I want to be with someone, like, for example, in a romantic relationship, partnership, who is both hot and cold, like a little bit of both. Like, yeah, be tough and be strong and be manly and masculine and all of that greatness, but also be sensitive and sweet and gentle. And I feel like for women as well, we either deny one or the other. And why? We have we're dynamic. Like, we are so versatile. Like, we are so multifaceted, and we have so many sides to ourselves. We have so much depth to us, and we only embrace certain parts of ourselves because we believe, we have this idea in our head that only certain parts of ourselves are to be shown to the world, or it's not even, like, we're not even conscious of it. It's not even like what we show to the world. It's about what we admit to ourselves. It's like, when we're sitting at home, do we acknowledge our other sides? Do we acknowledge our shadow side? Like, do we acknowledge those parts of ourselves that we have denied, that is who we are? So I don't even think a lot of us are doing this intentionally or on purpose. It's just, it's become a pattern. It's become who we are. It's our identity. And so when we start to embrace these different parts of ourselves, it's scary because we're not used to it. It's not familiar, but it's within us. Right? It comes out. It comes out during sad moments. It comes out when your heart gets broken. It comes out when you lose something, when you're going through a really tough time. When you are feeling really vulnerable and life's not going exactly as you want, usually is when your other shadow side comes out, because it just triggers this depth to you. And so it's within you, right? Like, it's there, but you don't really show this to the world. And my, I guess, invitation for you is, show this part to the world. Like, show all sides of you to the world. Like, yeah, you can keep yourself somewhat guarded. I know, like, our hearts have been hurt, and we don't want to just expose ourselves completely to everybody and give of ourselves 100% and then, get hurt. Like, I get it. But I'm not, like, have boundaries and have limits. But play around with that. Like, play around with what parts of you deny from yourself and from expressing out into the world. And what needs to come to the surface? What about you do you deny that needs to come to the surface, that you need to express? Because I feel like the more that you express it, and the more that you integrate and embrace all parts of yourself, the dark and the light, the more whole you become, and the more authentic you become, and you just become just this whole being, because you're just so diverse. You're so versatile. You're so dynamic. You're so multifaceted. You're so deep. You have this and this and this and this, and it's like, wow, this person is like a mystery. Like, they have all these different sides to them. And it's like, yeah, that's how we all are. A lot of us just choose to only show certain parts of ourselves to the world, and we shut out all of the other parts of ourselves because we're afraid that it'll be rejected because of some childhood thing that happened when we were told that this is not a good trait to have. Or society tells men that it's not good to be emotional or vulnerable. Or society tells women that we need to only just be this loving, caring, nurturing beings, and we can't be ambitious and go after what we want or stand up for ourselves, or whatever message that you received growing up. It's time to reevaluate. It's time to see, like, what's up? Like, what have you been told that isn't true about yourself, that because of that thing that you've been told, now you're totally and completely denying that aspect of yourself. And, I think it's your duty to share who you truly are, because the more that you share who you are, the more aligned you are to your higher self, and the more you inspire other people to also embrace all parts of themselves. All parts of themselves, right? There's not just one part of you that's good. And you can't just be one and not the other. There's good and bad. Embrace it all. You're a beautiful being. Embrace it all.